Welcome to Incredible Charts. Today we're going to cover a simple stop loss mechanism called percentage stops. Now, percentage stops can be used on low volatility stocks and on high volatility stocks, but you have to manually adjust the percentage based on a visual inspection of the chart. To start with, I've got a low volatility stock, National Australia Bank. That's been in a strong uptrend. It's just turning into a bit of a downtrend in the last week or two. So if we add percentage stops here, let's just go down and find it. Percentage stops. Percentage stops are based on percentage bands, and basically when the upper or lower band is hit, then the stop is triggered. So let's just go to percentage stops. Okay. Percentage of 10 would be too much for a low volatility stock like this. So we'll select 5. Price type closing, we will select high low. In other words, we will calculate the percentage based on the high in an uptrend and the low in a downtrend. Okay, and reversal type, again, will reverse based on intraday movement on the high and low. Right, line color, let's just make it a nice bright red so it's clearly visible. And we add our indicator to the chart. You can see there, percentage stop at 5%, calculated on the high. It's triggered here on when low breaks through the percentage stop and flips to basically a bar stop above the high. Okay. Now, as always, I've got my faithful trend index at the bottom, which I use to determine when to trade with the trend and when to stand back if you get a buy signal. If the trend index is trending lower, then and you get a buy signal, it's normally best to avoid. So we can see here we have a bit of a downtrend there, and since October we started to get a downtrend on that. Okay, so let's just take a buy signal. We'll take the buy signal got hit here on the 31st of July, and the stop was plotted at 5% below the high of the day. So as the highs get higher, the trend commences, we see the stop gets dragged up fairly quickly behind the price action. When your price action slows and it gets in a more of a consolidation mode, it's still moving up, but in a very choppy market, then the percentage slows behind that and moves up very gradually. When you finally get it down there that breaks through the stop, basically you close your position, and then before you enter on the buy signal on the over here, you have a look at the trend index to see whether it's conducive to a new trade. Trend index is lower, trending lower, so avoid the buy signal. You can see that you've actually lost money on that trade. We stopped that at a lower price here at $43. And since then, the stock has been trending lower. Now let's just switch to another stock, EVN, Evolution Mining, gold miner, of course, which is a lot more volatile. And you see, if you had 5% stocks here, you'd be frequently stopped out in the uptrend. So what we do, visually inspect the chart, you can see it's with prior action, it's been in a good uptrend for a while, and you set your stop at 10% rolling 5. Update, and there, that looks a lot prettier. Okay, let's examine the trend index. We can see it's trended lower there, and a lower section back here, but we'll ignore that for now. All right, so your buy signal gets a bit choppy here when the trend index is below 0, and you shouldn't take signals when the trend index is below 0. Here it crosses to above shortly after the buy signal, so you take an entry at that point there. Then the percentage stop drags below the trend, follows the trend up, hanging off closing price 10% below the closing price, and is stopped out on this day here where it gaps lower. Unfortunately, it gaps, so you're going to take a bit of a hit there because the opening price is below the stop. All right, and then basically we've got a buy stop in place. We have a buy signal here on this day. You can see that the downtrend in the trend index has finished, and it's now tending to move sideways. So I will take the buy signal there with the benefit of hindsight, obviously, and your stop loss would be plotted 10% below the high. As the trend moves up, the stop loss follows, and we're now sitting at a position where we're almost covered from our entry point there. Well, that's all I have on percentage stops. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back soon.